Your test result was hand delivered to you, folded. Did you receive that?
I was made aware of my I didn't look at it yet, so.
Do you have it with you?
It is. It's in my paperwork somewhere.
All right, I need you to locate it and open it up, please.
May I ask the reason why that would be?
Mr. Brooks, you raised this issue yourself, and I'd like to know the result.
I would too, but I was kind of in the middle of preparing for my defense, so
Mr. Brooks, find the piece of paper and open it up and read it, please.
Your Honor, I don't consent to being talked to in that fashion.
Your lack of consent is noted for the record. Please find the piece of paper, open it up, and please read it.
I will not consent to that, Your Honor. Or do I agree to that, Your Honor? I do not.
Mr. Brooks, then I'm going to advise the Sheriff's Department to find the piece of paper and hand it to me so that I can read it. So that those are your two options.
What would be the basis for that, Your Honor?
Mr. Brooks, this is an issue that you raised, and I need to bring it to finality and know what the test result is.
Okay, with all due respect, it was a motion that I raised.
All right, I'm going to clear the courtroom. We're going to go off the record, and we're going to find that piece of paper, and I'm going to address it when that's done. Take a recess so that the test result could be obtained, and if necessary, by reasonable force. It's my understanding there was some type of situation or altercation between Mr. Brooks and the deputies. Ultimately, though, I think he was taken into the bullpen. He was brought back out, but it was very clear to me that he was upset. I think understandably so, but I needed to make a record of what was being done, including that I have obtained the test result, so there's an accurate record in this case related to the motion that was raised previously by Mr. Brooks. I want Mr. Brooks to know that I am not removing him from when the jurors are brought back in. It was just simply because he was upset. He was very loud when I walked into the courtroom before going on back on the record. He was yelling about his constitutional rights being violated. I advised him that if there was any type of use of force that he wanted to complain about, he could certainly do that through the proper channels with the Sheriff's Department, but just given his state of agitation and my need to make a record, I had him taken to the other courtroom. He is currently muted. I do not intend to go forward with additional testimony. Ultimately, I'm going to take an early lunch break because of this, but I will make a record of the following. I have the result. I am going to scan it, have my clerk scan it. It will be filed as confidential, though. It won't be available to the public, but it's there for appellate purposes, but I can confirm that the test result for was negative. And again, I required the Sheriff's Department to provide that result to me, and it was, and it will remain under seal. I realize I'm disclosing that result, but I feel obligated to do that given the motion that was raised 2 days ago by Mr. Brooks. Again, I intend to take an early lunch, so that will hopefully give Mr. Brooks an opportunity, if he so chooses, to review the result himself. It was put in front of him. I did see that he either shoved it or tossed it or just dismissed it. It looked like it went on the floor when it was put in front of him, but we'll certainly have the deputies give that to him again. During the recess for lunch, Mr. Brooks will also be given the opportunity to change into street clothes if he so chooses. But when we come back, he will be in this courtroom. I agree. Mr. Brooks was making a couple of statements about how he was abiding by the rules and being respectful, things of that nature. I agree. He's done an excellent job while in court here this morning. He's been respectful of the rules. He made some early on. I let him, make his objections or lack of consent. He did that respectfully. When I said I was moving on, he generally was able to do that. We were able to get through 2 witnesses. He was able to follow along, ask cogent, clear, responsive, and articulate objections. He was able to elicit information from the witnesses regarding either their memory, their credibility, and other things. Generally speaking, he's been able to competently represent himself and provide, again, solid cross-examination this morning. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to hopefully settle back in and to come back here when we return from lunch. So with that, we are in recess. Probably come back at 1 o'clock, since it's only 11:30, and we'll take the full 90 minutes for lunch today. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, we are, let's get all of our audio on. All right, we are back on the record. It is 1:07 p.m. Appearances are as they were previously. Mr. Brooks is in the courtroom. He is in jail attire, as that is his choice. And I don't know if there's anything the state wants to address at this point before we continue with testimony.
No,
Just
thank
wanna
you.
check. All right, Mr. Brooks, anything you want to address at this point? It's hard for me to see his head. He's bent over, but I thought I saw him shaking his head. No, but I'll ask one more time. Mr. Brooks, anything you want me to address before the jurors are brought out to continue with testimony from witnesses?
Just a little emotional right now.
All right. Let's bring the jury out. We'll continue. I presume the state has a witness available.
We do.
All right. Thank you.
I'll say something really quick.
Mr. Brooks, the jury is headed out, but why don't you hold off on that, and at the next appropriate time when they're not on their way in, I can address whatever it is. Or if you want to pass me a note, you can do that as well. right, thank you, everyone. Please be seated. And good afternoon to our jury. State may call its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Officer Jeremy Phillips.
All right, good afternoon, officer. If you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is to my right. When you get there, please remain standing, raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please be seated. First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
My first name is Jeremy, spelled Jeremy. My last name is Phillips, Philipps.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. How are you employed, sir?
I'm employed with the City of Waukesha Police Department.
And how long have you worked in law enforcement?
I've been in law enforcement for a total of 14 years next month.
I guess let me ask a better question. Were you able to travel along Main Street to get to that item in front of you, Officer Phillips, on the screen?
I do now.
Okay.
Oh, it needs to be public. All the way. Thank you. Sure.
So that is a touch screen in front of you. If you want to draw or circle or anything like that, you may, or you can.
I drove around in the parking lot of the Schutze building. There was another officer already on scene who, from my understanding, was already on foot in and around the vicinity of the Schutze building and advised that they could not find anybody.
From my understanding, was already on foot in and around the vicinity of the Schutze building and advised that they could not find anybody
at the Schutze building.
Okay. Officer Phillips, do you see White Rock School on this map?
I do, yes.
Could you put an X on White Rock School?
White Rock School is this elongated building right here, so I'll draw a large X through it.
Okay. And you said the roadway running parallel to White Rock to the north is Baxter?
Correct.
Okay. And
Baxter is the road closest to the river. There's no other roads that run along the river there. Just like a walking path or something, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I notice, Officer Phillips, you are in uniform this afternoon. Were you scheduled to work today?
Yes.
So it would be fair to say that you would be on duty as of now if you weren't giving testimony in this matter.
I would be on duty right now, yes.
So it will also be fair to ask if it would be fair to say that you giving testimony right now, you're still getting paid for it?
I am currently employed by the City of Waukesha Police Department on a working patrol shift, on a normal shift for myself, yes.
So with that, would it be fair to say that you are getting paid right now as we speak?
Yes, I'm getting paid right now.
By whom?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained. Next question.
Were you subpoenaed by the plaintiff in this matter?
Can you rephrase the question?
Were you subpoenaed to testify here today by the plaintiff?
Can you explain it in another way?
That was pretty clear. Were you subpoenaed to testify by the plaintiff in this matter?
I was subpoenaed by the Waukesha County Prosecution's Office to testify in this matter.
And can you say that again just for the record?
I was subpoenaed by the Waukesha County Prosecution's Office in this matter.
Is the Waukesha County Prosecution's Office the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained.
Do you know of any plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained.
Have you ever seen the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, irrelevant.
Have you ever talked
Sustained.
to the Have you ever talked to the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained.
Why are you continuing to look at parties that are not asking the questions?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
Correct, yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Do you have any redirect?